As we just saw in the previous video, hydrogen sulfide, H2S, is a gas that presents three main risks: toxicity, corrosion, and unpleasant odors. Let's take a closer look at each of these risks and explain why they're so critical in wastewater operations. Hydrogen sulfide, H2S, is a highly toxic gas that can cause serious health effects and even death in cases of acute exposure. It irritates the eyes and respiratory tract, and at higher concentrations, it can affect the nervous system and cause collapse within minutes. Because of its toxicity, strict exposure limits have been established in the United States. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, sets a ceiling limit of 20 ppm. That means the concentration of H2S in the air must never go above 20 ppm at any time. A short-term peak limit of 50 ppm is allowed, but only for 10 minutes and only if no other exposure occurs during the same shift. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, recommends a maximum exposure of 10 ppm for no more than 10 minutes. But at what concentration does H2S become deadly? According to OSHA and NIOSH data, at 100 ppm, H2S is considered immediately dangerous to life or death, IDLH. Between 500 and 700 ppm, it may cause collapse within minutes and death within 30 to 60 minutes. And concentrations of 700 to 1000 ppm can cause rapid unconsciousness and death within a few minutes. Since H2S is heavier than air, it tends to accumulate and stagnate at the bottom of confined spaces such as wells, tanks, covered structures, and lift stations. Workers operating in these environments are therefore at high risk of exposure to dangerous concentrations. The typical odor detection threshold is extremely low, between 0.01 and 1.5 ppm, which means you can smell H2S long before it reaches dangerous levels. However, the odor is not a reliable warning. At around 100 ppm, the gas paralyzes the sense of smell, a condition known as olfactory fatigue, preventing further detection by scent. So remember, no smell doesn't mean no gas. It is also important to know that H2S becomes explosive when its concentration reaches 4% in the air. Given the high risk of toxicity, all personnel who may be exposed to H2S must be properly trained and equipped. They must wear appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, and carry specific H2S gas detectors. And they must have completed a confined space training course or have a confined space qualification. Now let's look at the risk of corrosion. Under certain conditions, hydrogen sulfide can transform into sulfuric acid, which attacks materials that come into contact with it. This primarily affects cement-based structures exposed to bacterial activity in a humid atmosphere, such as concrete pipes, manholes, tanks, cement coatings, and asbestos cement manholes. Hydrogen sulfide and sulfuric acid can also corrode metals such as iron, silver, copper, brass, and some bronzes. The effects of H2S can therefore appear on metallic components present in a wastewater system such as metalwork, ladders and walkways, equipment in lift stations and wastewater treatment plants, and electrical equipment. Over time, this corrosion can seriously compromise the integrity and safety of wastewater infrastructure. Finally, let's look at the risk of unpleasant odors. When hydrogen sulfide gas escapes from wastewater systems, it can give off a rotten egg smell, even at extremely low concentrations. These unpleasant odors often lead to complaints from nearby residents. Such complaints can actually be useful, as they help identify possible malfunctions in the wastewater system. Fortunately, there are ways to prevent these odors by reducing sulfide formation or by treating polluted air. We'll explore these treatment methods later in this training course. Here are the key points to remember from this video. Hydrogen sulfide presents three main risks. Toxicity, which can become fatal at high concentrations, is present from around 500 ppm and above. Corrosion, which damages metallic or cement-based structures. And unpleasant odors, even at extremely low concentrations.